Part 129. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1284. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. Who? The creature in the yellow dust almost turned pale with fright. You must know that before the space split, even he didn't feel any signs. Just as he looked towards the back. In the broken subspace, an aircraft that looked awkward but was incredibly large rushed out of the broken space like flying. Ah, you actually hit me with a battleship, you despicable villain. The yellow dust creature almost didn't expect that such a big killer would come from the subspace. It was frightened and quickly ran away to the side. However, the speed of the aircraft was too fast. Even if the yellow dust creature was also extremely fast, it still could not avoid the collision of the aircraft. Hold on. No, just see how I destroy this battleship. Seeing that he could not completely avoid it, the creature in the yellow dust showed a ruthless look on his face, and the body in the smoke suddenly appeared. He was a bear-like creature, and at this moment, he slapped his huge palms. Although the flying giant ship looks huge, its body is also extremely damaged. If there is no accident, it may be hit with a big hole by its palm, or it may be directly destroyed. And just when the yellow dust creature felt a sense of crisis in its heart, it used all its strength. In the huge aircraft that flew out, a surprised voice suddenly sounded. Next, all the creatures on the side saw an incredibly terrifying and huge brainwave power inside the flying giant aircraft, and they lightly blasted at the yellow dust creature that was desperately trying to hit the giant battleship. Boom! Ah! The yellow dust creature instantly let out a scream, but then, the scream disappeared. This, actually, died. Several semi-star powerhouses not far away had their eyes raised. In their eyes, the extremely powerful Huangchen expert was unable to withstand even one blow under the power of the brainwaves of the creature in the battleship, and he died immediately. This is too exaggerated. Difficult, could it be, stellar level? One after another, the creatures looked almost in disbelief at the yellow dust creatures that flew far away after the blow, and then their bodies were broken and no longer had any breath. Then they looked at the shocking creatures that slowly emerged from the space. The huge aircraft with a body of 20 kilometers, completely exposed in the normal space, was shaking involuntarily. There is only one kind of creature that can kill a pseudo-stellar powerhouse and kill it so easily with one strike. That is the truly strongest group of people in this vast battlefield, stellar existences. This is a true star. Even the arrogant Fei Huang was defeated so easily. The stellar level is too terrifying. But we are saved. I hope this stellar being will not do anything to us. 7 or 8 half-star level creatures looked at the huge battleship firmly parked in the space. They didn't dare to look too much, let alone run away. They just flew in the air respectfully. But they didn't have to wait long. You guys, tell me where this place is. Inside the terrifying giant ship, a soft voice sounded. Hearing this voice, which at least contained no trace of murderous intent, the 7 or 8 half-star creatures present heaved a long sigh of relief. As long as the opponent doesn't kill them directly, their safety is at least temporarily guaranteed. Sir, this is the northeast corner of the stellar battlefield. Because it is too remote, it has not been officially named. A more courageous creature stepped out from the crowd respectfully and spoke carefully to the creatures in the aircraft. Stellar battlefield. The voice was obviously startled, and all the creatures were slightly surprised. Few creatures who have reached the semi-star level are fools, especially those who have been living in this battlefield for a long time. Their ability is to observe their appearance. Just from the strong man's question about the stellar battlefield, it can be seen that this strong man did not expect that this place would be a stellar battlefield. It can even be seen that he does not seem to know much about the stellar battlefield. Is it a senior who lost his ship while traveling quickly? This thought flashed through their minds, but no one dared to ask anything. The words of the powerful man next made them even more determined on this idea, because this powerful creature, who was obviously a star, actually asked them many basic questions about the star battlefield. Very well, I'm very satisfied with your answer. Let's go. After the star level being said something indifferently, several semi-star level experts hurriedly ran away. And this person who flew out of subspace and casually killed a pseudo-stellar powerhouse was, of course, the newly arrived Jia Yan. At this time, Jia Yan had a completely surprised expression on his face. There is such a battlefield 5,000 light-years away from the Stellar Academy. Stellar battlefield, is it possible that there are still many stars here? It is normal for Jia Yan to be surprised by such a place that he has almost never heard of. Fortunately, even if he doesn't know this place, he still has access to the internet. Master, although the EDISA is seriously damaged, the network is still usable. Just take a look. EDISA was by Jia Yan's side and opened up the public network here for him. Then Jia Yan looked at the relevant basic matters on the public network for a while. After more than half an hour, he withdrew from the network with a look of amazement and surprise. The stellar battlefield is actually a starry battlefield where several super-wide area battles are fought. And it also vaguely involves some of the top forces in the center of the Milky Way. Jia Yan looked surprised as if it was the first time he knew so many secrets. This is like a frog living in a well jumping out of the well for the first time and seeing the sky outside. That's right. Jia Yan's strength is sufficient, but after all, he was born too short and spent most of his time in battle, so he doesn't know much about the basic knowledge that many star-level experts should understand. Just like the stellar battlefield, and the small-scale wars that have continued in several large areas, this was the first time he knew about it. He only now knows that in the Milky Way civilization, in addition to civilization, it is also divided into star fields, and above the star fields is the large domain. What exceeds a large domain is a relatively large domain, a wide domain that was born from the alliance of several large domains with generally friendly relations. The relationship between large areas and wide areas can no longer be expressed by ordinary relationships. There are too many past competitions in it, and the alliance is not reliable. At least in Jia Yan's current view, he cannot distinguish clearly for the time being. Who is allied with whom? The stellar battlefield in front of us is a strange battle area derived from the major areas, plus several large areas, competing or hostile to each other. Jia Yan doesn't know if there are any similar places in the starry sky of Genius battlefield, but at least in this starry sky, stellar battlefield is a place that is independent of any large or wide area and is competed by several major forces. Here, the rule of survival is to fight. No one knows where each of the stars comes from, and no one knows how many there are, because every day there are super powerful stars in major areas or wide areas, even in the center of the galaxy. Stars are coming. Under the laws of chaos, there is a faint struggle between all parties. Even the major superstar fields behind the stellar domain cannot control this place. The star class they sent was severely damaged, but they had to send it because other forces will urge them to dispatch stellar forces, which is like a struggle between large forces. If they do not dispatch or are unable to do so, it means that this large force has no ability, and will be invaded by other large or wide areas. Indefinite. Interesting, a unique product of war? Such a chaotic place is the best hiding place for me now. The more Jia Yan saw the rules and messages of this stellar battlefield, the brighter his compound eyes became. He knew that this place was still too close to the Stellar Academy. If the Stellar Academy really wanted to capture him, they would definitely be able to find this place. And then, the stellar battlefield would be his greatest refuge. In such a chaotic situation, the Stellar Academy would definitely be able to find him. The academic community probably wouldn't dare step into it and cause trouble casually. Very good. Before the Aditya is completely repaired, I will train and be promoted here. It seems that in addition to being able to hone my combat power, there are many things I can get here. Stellar battlefield. As a battlefield dominated by stars, the things inside are of course extremely high-end. There are many high-level items here, and there are also many resources that can be used to improve the star level. Originally, there are several large areas and large areas. The battlefield is set here because the energy here is so abundant that no one wants to give it up. So if Jia Yan is here, as long as he doesn't die, the benefits he might get will be astonishing. Very good, then the first thing to do is to see if there is any place around that can help me repair the Edissa. Jia Yan's eyes became brighter and he kept investigating in this stellar battlefield. If you go deeper, go to Shiyuan and he will learn more and more about the stellar battlefield. Of course, this kind of understanding only stays at the basic level. If he wants to know the real situation, he needs to actually walk around and take a look. Huh? This planet is under the control of a certain star and has a stable living environment. It seems that there should be certain technology and resources here to repair the Aditha. Soon, Jia Yan was slightly happy. Because he found a planet not far away with technology and stable living areas, which he thought could help him repair the Edissa. But the only doubt is that this planet is already controlled by a certain star-level powerhouse. I'll go over and take a look first. If we can discuss it, let's discuss it. I'm sure in this battlefield, the star-level people won't take action just because they say it, right? Jia Yan made a decision. Then the severely damaged Edissa, like an ancient aircraft that was dying, trembled and trembled, at least it was still able to move, and flew towards the planet. Mobile phone users please browse and read for better quality. Reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1285. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The stellar battlefield is huge, spanning 700 to 800 light-years across. Moreover, all major areas and wide areas around this place have extended their tentacles, and there are many treasures and resources inside. Under such circumstances, it has attracted countless strong people to come here, looking for gold, avoiding disasters, and others. Native organisms. Until now, no force has been able to clearly know how many star classes there are in the stellar battlefield, because there are too many star classes coming and going, and no force can dominate here, because that is not allowed by others. The White Star is a planet under the leadership of a star-level strongman on the edge of this stellar battlefield. Fortunately, there is a star-level person in charge, and the political system of the White Star is stable, and there has been no war for at least hundreds of years. The White Star is said to be a planet, but in fact it has a very wide area under its jurisdiction. The entire star system is under the jurisdiction of the White Star. Have you heard? Starting tomorrow, we will go to the edge of the galaxy to mine. Please encourage me. If you do well, you may have the opportunity to get a letter of recommendation and become a White Star University student. Know that the university know. That is the threshold to the road to becoming a strong person. It is possible to fly on a branch and become a phoenix in the future. In a small spacecraft flying in the White Galaxy, more than 100 creatures were listening to the speech of the first creature. Why fly on a branch and become a phoenix? After so many years, I haven't seen anyone really become a college student. Underneath, a creature over 30 centimeters tall that looked like an 8-legged monster shook its head strangely. He was too small, even if the creatures around him were only 1 or 2 meters tall. His body, which was only about 30 centimeters tall, was still submerged. Keep your voice down. Have you forgotten the last time the captain hung you up and beat you? Beside him, a creature over 4 centimeters tall that looked like a squirrel quickly asked him to be silent. The little 8-legged creature wanted to say something else, but it just muttered and said nothing more. This spaceship is obviously a mineral mining spacecraft. There are too many resources in the stellar battlefield. It is said that this is because hundreds of thousands of years ago, several major regions joined forces and fought a war with a wide area legion here. Then hundreds of thousands of years passed, and the war that year the resources are left on this battlefield. Over the past hundreds of thousands of years, the existence has become fatter. Ordinary planets may have been built by the military back then, and even the mineral energy has been changed, so the mining value is extremely high. Huh? I just seemed to see something flying across the starry sky. Could it be that I was dazzled? The little eight-legged creature came to his post after the captain finished his training, and then he discovered an unusual situation. Well, I guess it's because my eyesight is dazzled, otherwise it's an asteroid in the universe. Our spacecraft won't call the police when it encounters an asteroid. He gave up on his discovery. After all, there were too many such situations. You couldn't just report everything you saw that was different, right? This way he might have more chances of being hung up and beaten. But what he didn't know was that in the blink of an eye, a figure, like a ghost, quietly came to the small spacecraft from the place where he noticed something was wrong. This is a creature with legs that walks upright. He had black hair, and under his cold gaze, there was an indescribable sense of pressure. It turned out to be a resource extraction ship. Arriving on the spaceship, Jia Yan looked around calmly. No matter how much the biological species in the universe change, there are actually some things that will never change, such as the thirst for resources. Language is also a common language that can be roughly communicated. It seems that the common language I have learned, at least in the galaxy, I don't have to worry about being unable to communicate with others. Of course, what came into the spacecraft at this time was a clone of Jia Yan. In fact, Jia Yan now has a total of 3 clones on board the Etissa. They were all made by the scientists of Taia Kingdom using huge resources while he was in Taia Kingdom. Although the strength of the 3 clones are all at the 2nd level, the strength they can explode is almost comparable to the pseudo-star level, so on this small mining ship, there is no fear of any strong person discovering him. The hull of the ship is not big, and the strongest person inside is the high-level starry sky. For Jia Yan's clone, it can be easily killed with just one look. When he came to this galaxy, Jia Yan did not appear directly in his true form, because he knew very well that even if it were him, and a stellar-level powerhouse suddenly came to his territory, he would be very nervous. So Jia Yan first used his clone to feel out. Not long after, his clone left the mining ship again. When the mining ship arrived at their destination, the team leader found that there was already a strange creature waiting for them in the mining place. "Hey, are you a survivor who survived the crash of the last batch of mining ships? Well, since you are alive, just join our mining team." When the team leader saw this creature, he didn't have too many questions. After all, such situations happened from time to time. The creature who got his promise to join was none other than Jia Yan. After the last invasion, he got information from the opponent's hull. This group of mining ships was temporarily dispatched because the previous batch of mining ships crashed. Moreover, in this galaxy, ordinary creatures have almost no normal identity information, and the flow of people is too great. Therefore, no one can take Jia Yan's identity seriously. After all, he is just pretending to be a member of the mining team. The mined minerals are here, you all behave well. Don't be afraid of those starry sky ghosts. If they dare to appear, our guards will definitely protect you. The team leader was a starry sky high-level being. When he came to the mining planet, he did not work at all. Instead, he patrolled near the mining team with several starry sky level creatures. I hope we won't encounter a starry sky ghost this time. The last time our team encountered a starry sky ghost, 8 people died. Beside Jia Yan's clone, an 8-legged creature sighed. "Star ghost, is it very powerful?" Jia Yan looked at the temporary teammate assigned to him and asked calmly while imitating the opponent's movements to decompose the minerals on the ground with the tool in his hand. In fact, he wanted to ask what this starry sky ghost was, but asking like that would definitely reveal that he didn't know common sense, so he just made some insinuations. Starry ghosts, there are strong and weak ones. Isn't this very common in our stellar battlefield? However, in our white galaxy, all the strong starry ghosts have been killed, and the rest are difficult to kill. If they are not strong, their general strength is just a little stronger than ordinary creatures. The eight-legged creature said to Jia Yan, but while he spoke, the movements of his hands did not stop. Jia Yan listened to his explanation, but glanced aside. Is this the starry sky ghost you are talking about? He suddenly asked in a faint voice. The eight-legged creature looked in the direction pointed by Jia Yan, and his whole expression suddenly became shocked. Ah, starry sky ghost. He screamed in shock, but Jia Yan beside him had a look of surprise in his eyes. Because in his eyes, the so-called starry sky ghosts are completely mechanical, and they are obviously standard machines. Each one is about the size of a small bee, flying everywhere in the starry sky. Jia Yan's brainwave power unfolded, and then he let out a faint gasp of surprise. Because the place where the starry sky ghost appears is actually a twisted subspace. The larger ones are stronger, while the smaller ones are weaker and can appear in batches. The combined power is stronger than that of ordinary creatures. That is definitely much more powerful. Hurry up, there are star ghosts in the mining star, they will attack us soon, we must report it quickly. When the eight-legged creature was frightened, it quickly roared at Jia Yan beside it, and then ran away in the direction it came from without stopping. Jia Yan and the eight-legged creature were assigned to work in a Grand Canyon. There were no companions within at least 100 kilometers around them. At this time, they ran for their lives. When Jia Yan deliberately only used ordinary human strength, how could he escape the overwhelming appearance? Starry ghost? Here we come. Damn it, hurry up, let's fight and escape at the same time. The eight-legged creature actually ran at a speed of more than 10 meters per second with a body that was only over 30 centimeters tall. However, Jia Yan, who was beside him, did not fall behind at all. His feet almost turned into phantoms as he ran, following closely behind the eight-legged monster. But at such a speed, to the starry sky ghost chasing behind him, it was almost as if it was standing still. A group of 50 or 60 animals came up behind Jia Yan and the two men, and as soon as they fled, they were about to attack. Die! A bright light flashed in Jia Yan's eyes, and he kicked out a kick with a skill that surpassed that of ordinary earthlings. As a star, even if he deliberately suppressed his strength, the combat power he could display at this time was still extremely powerful, at least in terms of moves, it was almost perfect. Poof! The starry sky in the poisonous air made a crisp sound, and more than 30 mechanical creatures landed on the ground one after another like dumplings. Huh! The eight-legged creature escaping in front was stunned when it saw the powerful combat power displayed by Jia Yan. It's amazing. I obviously didn't feel that your brainwave power reached the Earth level, but you were able to kill so many star ghosts with the physical strength of ordinary creatures. Your fighting talent looks good. He praised Jia Yandeo with bright eyes. Haha, what does my talent mean in the eyes of the team leader? Well, let's not say so much. It's important to escape first. Jia Yan pretended to be humble and shook his head. That's right, run away first. But your fighting talent is so great, I can tell the team leader. Maybe the team leader will recommend you to become a college student after seeing your strength. You know, becoming a college student, no matter how bad you are after graduation, you can still become the leader of a mining team. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1286. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. The two continued to run for their lives. Under Jia Yan's precise control, the strength he displayed was only slightly higher than that of an average human on Earth. But with this kind of physical ability displayed by his super fighting ability, it was as if everyone on the Earth was swarming and could not be defeated. The so-called starry sky ghosts who were chasing him were beaten by him one by one with his fists or feet. Fall. This starry sky ghost's lair is actually in subspace. Jia Yan is not as nervous as the eight-legged monster next to him. If he really wants to take action, all the starry sky ghosts on this small mineral star with brainwave power will be completely killed. He was just thinking about the true face of the starry sky ghost. The two of them fought and killed each other, and the eight-legged creature also took out a laser gun of its own and quickly killed the starry ghosts in the sky. Soon the camp appeared in their eyes. At this time, many creatures have returned to the camp. Humph, has the starry sky ghost appeared? Come on, brothers, we have something to do. The Starry Sky level leader led several Starry Sky level subordinates and jumped out of the newly built base camp, but as soon as he appeared, his eyes lit up. This guy, I remember he was a survivor on this planet, right? I didn't expect him to be quite strong. He flew in front of Jia Yan. Now it's urgent that you join my team and cooperate with us to kill this wave of starry ghosts. Once this is over, I will give you a university recommendation spot. Come with me. After he finished speaking, he flew forward, as if he wasn't worried that Jia Yan wouldn't follow. College quota. Jia Yan behind him was not as excited as he thought, but rather confused. It's actually a university quota, Jia Yan, you are so lucky. Most people can't get this university quota, but you got it. In the future, you may also be a strong person like a team leader. The eight-legged creature looked at Jia Yan almost with envy and jealousy, wishing to take his place. Oh, so that means we can get closer to the top, right? Jia Yan smiled in his heart. Anyway, for him, there was no danger in this situation. If he could get closer to the top of the White Star, he would be able to know more clearly the strength of the White Star commander. He has only advantages and no disadvantages. So he didn't stop too much and directly followed the footsteps of several flying starry sky level experts. Captain, this guy actually dares to follow us. It's ridiculous. He doesn't even have Earth level strength. Does he really think he can help us? Among the several starry sky level creatures flying in front, one looked at Jia Yan behind him and almost burst into laughter. While they were killing the star ghosts, they were observing Jia Yan behind them. The starry sky ghost is very powerful to ordinary miners, but to them, it is almost a target of massacre. Haha, don't underestimate this guy. Take a closer look. His moves are almost controlled by his heart. He has reached a very strong level. I'm sure you won't be as powerful as him before you reach the Earth level. The high-ranking captain of Sean Kong smiled and said to several subordinates around him, anyway, my recommendation quota this time is about to expire, so it doesn't matter if I send such a guy over, just treat it as a favor. Maybe this guy will have a chance to repay me in the future. Waiting for him to repay the favor? Captain, why don't you give us a favor, haha. Several starry sky level masters laughed, but they didn't say anything to stop him. After all, to them, the little one who was running around killing starry sky ghosts on the ground was simply insignificant. Even the team leader had a similar view. It was just an idea that came to Jia Yan when he left the camp. Of course, he never thought that the little guy he randomly named was actually a star-level existence that was infinitely larger than him and whose strength was thousands of times greater. Otherwise, he would have been scared to death. The strength of this wave of starry sky ghosts was not very strong, so they slowly disappeared quickly. After causing a certain amount of damage to the camp, they completely subsided. These things actually come for energy. Jia Yan used his extremely powerful star-level strength to observe the dynamics in the subspace. He saw the group of machines as small as swarms of bees, while fighting, continuously stealing energy from the camp. He even didn't let go of the many minerals. After quickly grabbing them, he evacuated from the battlefield. Your name is Jia Yan, right? That's right. After such a battle, you still don't have any injuries. I'll leave your place in the university to you. I hope you can study hard and live up to my expectations of you. The team leader flew to Jia Yan and looked very satisfied with Jia Yan. Even the few starry sky-level creatures around him were shocked when looking at Jia Yan, because they had seen before that although Jia Yan's strength was not strong, his combat skills were extremely mysterious. Although he was not too strong due to physical limitations, powerful combat power burst out, but the starry sky ghosts attacking Jia Yan were also unable to harm him. Young man, work hard. I believe that with your fighting ability, you will be able to surprise people when you get to college. Maybe we will all rely on you in the future. A starry sky-level creature showed kindness to Jia Yan. The others also smiled the same way. For them, it is not difficult to sell one to Jia Yan, who has strong combat skills. After all, the starry sky level is not a very powerful person, and there is no such thing as a strong person's self-esteem. No, will Jia Yan really be stronger than them in the future? Jia Yan was optimistic about this group of starry sky level. He just exchanged a few words without showing any respect or disrespect. The more he acted like this, the more he looked at the starry sky level. Jia Yan didn't pay too much attention to everything in front of him, but put his mind on the main body in the subspace. What exactly is the so-called starry sky ghost? Jia Yan controlled the clone at will, and then let the Edisha quietly approach the subspace location where the starry sky ghost appeared. For other creatures, the starry sky ghost may be impossible to capture, or at least it is difficult to capture, but it is different for Jia Yan. He is originally a subspace creature, and the current Edisha has possessing the ability to navigate in subspace. He can easily approach the location of the starry sky ghost's body. Not long after, the Edisha driven by Jia Yan appeared somewhere in the subspace. But when Jia Yan saw where the so-called starry sky ghost was, he was immediately shocked at the first sight. What is this? It turned out that in front of Jia Yan was a terrifying spherical object that was too huge to be believed. The Edisha was already a giant aircraft, measuring a full 20 kilometers, but it was nothing compared to the spherical thing in front of me. Not far from the Edisha, there is a giant sphere that is more than 300 kilometers in size, like a small planet, moving slowly in subspace. No. This is not ordinary interstellar material. After Jia Yan took a closer look at the giant ball, he was shocked again. Because he discovered that the giant sphere in front of him was not ordinary starry sky material. Instead, it is composed of overlapping small bee-sized machines. There are also big ones, and even in Jia Yan's perception, below the surface, there are still a few that are 1 or 2 kilometers in size. However, most of the giant sphere is composed of tiny bee-like machines, so densely packed that the number is unknown. At the same time that Jia Yan appeared, small machines inside the huge sphere also discovered Jia Yan's existence at the same time. Each small bee-like creature, like a real bee guarding the nest, approached Jia Yan like crazy. No matter how many you have, the truly strong ones in front of you will have no effect. In the universe, when it comes to truly powerful people, numbers don't have much effect, especially the so-called starry sky ghosts, almost all of whom are less than Earth level in strength. Under such circumstances, Jia Yan's brainwave power, all died. Of course, it shouldn't be said to be dead, but to stop functioning, because no matter what Jia Yan thinks, they are just ordinary machines. I don't know why people in the stellar battlefield would say that these things are starry sky ghosts. In addition to such a template, Are there other starry sky ghosts? Throughout the subspace, small bee-like machines were swarming towards Jia Yan's location, just like the tide. However, under the counter-attack of Jia Yan's brainwave power, they couldn't even get close to the Edissa. After all, the strength gap was too far. And just after this group of small bee-like mechanical attacks had no effect, within the hive-like organization, several individuals measuring 1 or 2 kilometers in size finally raised their heads. Are you finally going to get serious about it? Jia Yan saw those individuals that were 1 or 2 kilometers in size, and smiled slightly, without the slightest hint of fear. According to his perception, although these individuals are huge, the sense of strength they display is only about half a star level. Even if the unpredictability of the machinery is taken into account, is at most a pseudo-stellar level, and does not pose any threat to Jia Yan now. But when those huge individuals flew up, Jia Yan saw what was hidden under their bodies. A look of horror suddenly flashed across his eyes. Under these few individuals, there is actually an even bigger one. He was startled because after those giant machines 1 or 2 kilometers in length flew up, something underneath their bodies was exposed. It turned out to be a snow-white creature that looked completely like a living thing. He has countless legs, and his body shape cannot be seen clearly under the cover, but what is exposed under the mechanical cover alone is 5 or 6 kilometers long. According to the conversion method, this creature is at least a giant creature that is more than 10 kilometers long. Oh my God, is this the real starry sky ghost? His strength has actually reached the starry sky level. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1287. Jia Yan's heart was beating wildly, and he finally took this so-called starry sky ghost to his heart for the first time. No matter what it is, Jia Yan cannot underestimate a collective body with a star-level body. No, this guy's body and combat power should not have reached the true stellar level. Of course, my opinion is not necessarily accurate. After all, I don't have any understanding of this kind of existence. In any case, we are now outnumbered, and even if we encounter mid-level stellar creatures, we will probably avoid the edge temporarily. He makes a decision quickly. Jia Yan's brainwave power roared, blasting away a group of starry sky ghosts surrounding him, and then the Edisha lined up the twisted space and escaped into the distance. The huge collection of starry sky ghosts behind seemed to just drive Jia Yan away without any intention of chasing him, and quickly disappeared behind him. This starry sky ghost actually looks the same. After escaping hundreds of thousands of kilometers, Jia Yan stopped the Edisha and looked behind him, seemingly lost in thought. This starry sky ghost is a little weird. I even felt a trace of desire after the other party exposed his bottom. Is there anything in that body that is good for me? Jia Yan's eyes were bright, and he vaguely felt that this starry sky ghost was a good thing, but there was nothing he could do about it now. Forget it, let's use our clones to establish a foothold on this white planet first. We might be able to get some information about the starry sky ghost. But of course, the first thing is to repair the Aditha. Jia Yan thought for a while, then ordered the Aditha to stay away from the starry sky ghost place, and put all his attention on the clone. At this time, the clone was appreciated by a group of starry sky level powerhouses on the mining planet, and his status rose instantly. You don't have to wait a few days to follow the next ore ship and go to a certain satellite of the White Star to take the college entrance examination. This kind of thing is a trivial matter. While Jia Yan was responding to the inquiries of several starry sky level experts, he was asking about the intelligence of the White Star. But without Jia Yan knowing. In the subspace that he was still exploring before, a huge sphere was quietly hovering. But just as it slowly regained its composure, metal fishhooks one after another quietly extended into the subspace from outside the normal space. When the countless bee-like creatures felt the bait on these hooks, they seemed to smell something extremely attractive, and they started to swarm instantly. Countless bee-like machines flew to these fish hooks. The mouth parts of the machines bit the fish hooks, but they were completely sucked by the fish hooks and could not move. The larger bee-like machine, after feeling that these small bee-like machines could not move, showed a confused expression and flew here. However, it was attracted by the larger fish hook, opened its mouth parts, and bit the fish above the hook. But just when they bit the fish hook seemed to have reached its destination and started to move instantly. The fish hook was quickly retracted from the subspace, and the endless bee-like creatures were suddenly shocked by this scene. It was too late to escape, they were pulled directly out of the subspace. As soon as these endless fishhooks were pulled out of the subspace, there was suddenly a terrifying brainwave power that controlled these small bee-like creatures that flew out. Those big ones did not escape, but were directly captured by the brainwave power next to a huge creature. The huge creature was like a bear. His body was 2 kilometers long. Seeing these big bee-like starry sky ghosts that had taken the bait, the bear's face showed a smile. He controlled the power of his brainwaves and removed the big machines from the fishhook one by one. He stretched out his claws and slapped on each of the big machines. These large machines, which were 2 to 3 meters in size, actually sprayed out streams of white slurry. Ha, the harvest this time is not bad. These little guys are so cute. The huge bear creature was extremely satisfied with the slurry he saw. Hey, that's not right. This starry sky ghost will only release a large amount of serum to other individuals when it is threatened, so that they can differentiate and reproduce in the future. However, I did not go into the subspace to deliberately disturb them during this period. Why is there so much slurry? This bear creature scratched its head in confusion. Maybe it's a unique situation. I don't know much about these starry sky ghosts and starry sky battlefields. After all, they come from the center of the galaxy. This bear-like creature never thought that an extremely powerful star would come to his control area. After all, he didn't hear any news. These big ones will die if caught. In order to have slurry next time, we can't kill all the small ones and put them back. The bear creature untied all the small starry sky ghosts from the fishhook in one breath. Those small starry sky ghosts did not seem to have any awareness of such a close creature like him. One of them just flew in confusion for a long time, and then returned to the subspace as if he didn't feel anything strange. After a while, the bear creature, which had gained a lot, took the aircraft directly and returned to the central area of the white star. If all the creatures on the mineral planet could see him, they would definitely scream in shock. Because this bear-like creature is the absolute ruler of the white planet, and is also regarded as a godlike existence by all living creatures, the overlord of the white planet. A few days passed quickly. On this day, the first batch of mineral stars will be sent out. And Jia Yan is going to the white star satellite together with the minerals this time. Jia Yan, if you become a strong man, you must remember us in the future. The 8-legged creature was reluctant to leave Jia Yan, and the squirrel-like creature next to him also showed cute crying eyes. Oh, I will. Jia Yan let out a long sigh. For him, this lurking process was just a fun thing, but for these two fellow miners, it was an unforgettable process in their lives. They even really had feelings for Jia Yan as fellow miners. But Jia Yan is not them, and he is already a strong man now, so he does not have strong feelings towards these two creatures. Forget it, since I'm leaving, I'll leave something for them. After Jia Yan meditated for a while, before the spacecraft started, he used his brainwave power to take the two creatures to a deserted place, and his brainwave power suddenly moved. As a star-level powerhouse, it is already possible to help an ordinary creature unlock the power base of a strong man's brainwaves. Not long after, these two creatures activated their brainwave power and became two out-and-out Earth-level powerhouses. But Jia Yan could only help so far. It wasn't that he couldn't help anymore, but that what he had done at this time was enough. If he continued, it would exceed Jia Yan's psychological expectations. Two comatose creatures wake up and find that they have become Earth-level powerhouses. Let's not say what surprises they will have. Before that, Jia Yan had already boarded a spaceship bound for the White Star or Star and flew into the vast universe. For the creatures here, whether this white planet is a planet in the stellar battlefield or not, it is their hometown and the place where they live. Jia Yan looked at the starry sky. Even though it looked no different from the starry sky he had seen before, from Jia Yan's current starry sky level, it was completely different from the starry sky he had seen before. But no matter what the differences are, the ordinary creatures living here are also living extremely ordinary creatures. He runs this place well. The so-called White Star Overlord is probably a good guy too. Jia Yan understood for a moment, then immediately shook his head. For him, if there is anything necessary, no matter what kind of strong person the opponent is, Jia Yan will do it. The journey in the starry sky is vast. After a few days on the mineral spacecraft, Jia Yan's spacecraft welcomed another group of creatures, which were creatures that hitched a ride on another mineral star. Some of these creatures also received letters of recommendation from universities, and several others went home to visit relatives. Did you also get the recommendation quota? Me too. Come to Shiyuan and let's get to know each other. I heard that others in the university bully college students like us who come from the bottom. If we can all enter the university, we have to take good care of each other. The creature who was also recommended by the university was a creature that looked like a big black bird. He was obviously very familiar with it and was extremely enthusiastic about Jia Yan. However, Jia Yan did not respond too strongly. After all, he didn't really want a university place, he just went there for a formality to see the reality of the White Star Overlord, and then he would decide how to repair the Edessa. He has even made the worst plan, that is, if he cannot reach an agreement, he may directly kill the White Star Overlord depending on the situation. Jia Yan barely managed to deal with this familiar big bird creature, and didn't communicate much with others along the way. Another half-month passed, and the spacecraft arrived at the central area of the White Star. Is that a white star? It's so huge. Jia Yan was surprised when he saw the White Star from a distance. Because in his opinion, the White Star has a diameter of more than 30,000 kilometers, which is about 3 times the diameter of the Earth. Although it does not reach the level of the huge giant star in the chaos star field, it is still a shocking star. Big Mac. You two lucky guys, come with me. This time, there will be an exam for recommended places in just 2 days. You must know that under normal circumstances, many recommended students may not be able to take the exam after waiting for 2 or 3 months. You are very lucky. Good. The mineral spaceship was not flying to the White Star's own planet, but to one of the 7 or 8 5-stars of the White Star. This satellite is obviously an artificial star, but its size is completely larger than that of ordinary artificial satellites, reaching a diameter of more than 500 kilometers. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1288. This satellite was actually made by a strong person who controlled an asteroid by means of a method, pulled it to the vicinity of a white star, and then processed it. The strength of this White Star Overlord is probably not weak. And it is in terms of strength. When Jia Yan followed the leading creature to the satellite, he judged the strength of the creature that created the satellite the moment he stepped onto the artificial satellite. After reaching the stellar level, the strength of each strong person should not be underestimated, just like the several stellar level strong men that Jia Yan had fought before. Even if they all died in Jia Yan's hands, it was not because they were weak. But Jia Yan is too strong and has too many tricks. Even so, if Jia Yan is not careful, he might be killed by other star-level experts. After all, he has means, and others also have means. After being slightly wary of the White Star Overlord, Jia Yan and the leading creature arrived outside a large building on the satellite. You two, go in with your letters of recommendation. If you have learned something, don't forget that I brought you here. The creature smiled slightly friendly at Jia Yan's two creatures. After all, creatures that can get recommendations can get a good position even if they are brushed off at the first level. He also had a good relationship. Jia Yan and the big bird entered the building together, and a heaven-level creature immediately stopped them inside. Where are the letters of recommendation? Jia Yan and the big bird creature both took out their own brains, and the recommendation letter code inside was instantly sent to the other party's brain. This kind of thing cannot be forged, and even if it can be forged, those with that skill will not lack a recommendation spot, so after the heaven-level creature took a look, he took Jia Yan and Big Bird into the building. Our university covers an area of 20 kilometers. It is one of the largest buildings on this satellite. There are many extraordinary people among the graduates. For example, the current commander of the 3rd Battalion of the 5th Army of the White Star is a graduate of our university. As a student, you must learn from him. Wow, this university actually has a battalion commander. It's amazing. I heard that the current senior leaders of the White Star Legion were all brought by the Overlord from outside. It's really amazing that our university can have a battalion commander. The big bird seemed very surprised. As they walked along, the heaven-level creature explained that this was actually a gesture of goodwill. After all, even if a heaven-level creature is a strong one in the eyes of ordinary creatures, in front of a truly strong person, he is no more than an ordinary creature. People who lead the way here have a good attitude. If you can meet a promising person, you will gain their favor. Okay, I can't go in from the front. Come on. The heaven-level creature walked all the way and led Jia Yan and the big bird creature to a classroom-like place. He said this to Jia Yan and the two, then said something to a creature in the classroom and retreated. The creature that was notified was a strong man who had reached the starry sky level. When he saw the two creatures, Jia Yan, he almost showed disdain. There are two more that are not even at the prefectural level. Those guys who deal with minerals like to send this kind of waste here. Okay, you are all here. Just take the exam with these people. Finish the exam early and end it early. Obviously this guy was not optimistic about Jia Yan and De Niao, but he did not drive them away directly. Instead, he arranged a place in the classroom for Jia Yan and De Niao to enter the examination stage. Originally, newcomers like this need to wait a few days to understand the situation before taking the exam. This starry sky level just skipped it, but this is also the scope of his power, and it is just two mere mining creatures. No one can do it. What will be said? In the examination classroom, there are already several creatures taking the exam. As the starry sky level creature said, except for Jia Yan and the big bird, all other creatures have reached Earth level strength. Of course, the strength shown by Jia Yan's clone now only looks like an ordinary creature on the surface. If the strength really breaks out, even a pseudo-star level may not be stronger than his clone. I did pretty well on this test question. After Jia Yan sat down, his eyes paused slightly when he saw the title. It turned out that the questions on the smart brain screen in front of him were about mathematics and physics. In short, they were all common examination questions in the universe. As a stellar powerhouse, he would certainly not ask such a question at this time. You must know that in addition to being strong, strong people also have a certain understanding of science and theory. When faced with such primitive questions, they can be considered handy. Of course, he won't answer with all his strength. If he tries his best, he can directly ask the creature who asked the question about the mistakes in the question. It didn't take long for him to hand in the paper. He was the last to come, but he was the first to hand in the paper. This made the starry sky level creature who invigilated the exam show a true expression. Miners are just miners, they don't know anything about science and physics. The starry sky-level creature spoke contemptuously, and then glanced at Jia Yan's test paper. Next, his expression froze. Because Jia Yan's test paper was densely filled with answers. After looking at Jia Yan's clone sitting in front of his exam table, and then at the test paper in front of him, this starry sky leveler was completely stunned. Next, in the physical fitness test and reaction test, Jia Yan ranked first in ordinary biology and became an official student of this university. Listen carefully, the name of our university is the 5th White Satellite University. Once you enroll, you must take this university as an honor and work hard for the Overlord as your responsibility in the future. That afternoon, Jia Yan obtained the status of a college student in the extremely efficient university system. And that big bird-like creature, for some reason, was actually sneaked into the university by him. Wow, Jia Yan, you are so awesome. You are ranked first. I heard that even in history, this is a good result. You have to protect me from now on. The big bird was chattering in Jia Yan's ears, but Jia Yan remained unmoved and closed his eyes to rest. Of course, in fact, he was not closing his eyes to meditate, but using his brainwave power. In this 5th satellite university, the strongest person is a half-star powerhouse, which is not bad. And on the entire 5th satellite, there are a total of 3.5-star level. Jia Yan was exploring everything on the 5th satellite while listening to the explanation of the entrance ceremony. Although he didn't like such long speeches, it wouldn't be a bad thing if he missed any important points. After all, Jia Yan is still need to blend into this environment. His body also stayed in the subspace not far from the 5th satellite. Because there must be that overlord in the white star, Jia Yan does not dare to get too close. Subspace methods have been proven in previous battles. Even if there is still a certain advantage against other star classes, it is no longer invincible routine, so he will not approach rashly just because he has subdimensional talent. On this white planet, in addition to the power of the Overlord, there are also power fluctuations of pseudo-star level experts. In the subspace, Jia Yan's giant mosquito body shook his head helplessly. After arriving at this stellar battlefield, Jia Yan slowly felt how isolated he was without a team. Just like this so-called White Star Overlord, even if Jia Yan is certain to defeat the opponent one-on-one, he not only has geographical advantages, but also has pseudo-star level powerful subordinates. In this case, even if they cannot cause too much damage to Jia Yan. Judging from Jia Yan's current injury, it's hard to say whether he will win or lose. That's right, don't forget that Jia Yan is still injured. In the Battle of the Stellar Academy, Jia Yan could be said to have won miserably in several battles. Even though he killed so many stellar experts, his injuries worsened with each battle. Under such circumstances, even if it has passed, it took a long time, but the injury was not completely healed. So facing that overlord and his pseudo-star subordinates, Jia Yan may not be able to win. Forget it, I'll just use the clone to inquire and take off the time. Anyway, the advantage of my evolved beast body compared to other star level ones is that it recovers very quickly from injuries. As long as you give me a certain amount of time, I can recover, not afraid of this overlord. Jia Yan gave up the idea of fighting with great fanfare or forcing the White Star Overlord. Just like that, Jia Yan's alternative college life begins again. Jia Yan, I heard that you are the most powerful among the ordinary freshmen in our class. I want to challenge you. In addition to learning a lot of knowledge from the courses at a strong university, the biggest feature is the challenges students face. And today, another student came to challenge Jia Yan. Huh? Elf Clan. Jia Yan was walking in the academy with the big bird-like creature. When he saw the challenger, he was stunned. This is already 10 days after Jia Yan came to 5th Star University. In these few days, Jia Yan has become famous. Because on the first day of admission, there was a freshman with average ability who was beaten by Jia Yan because of his test scores. he was not convinced by the challenge and went to Shiyuan and was of course ruthlessly suppressed by Jia Yan. But then the challenges kept coming like snowflakes. Today, another student of average ability comes to challenge. But when he saw this creature, Jia Yan was surprised for a while. Not for anything else, but because the appearance of this challenging creature is very similar to that of an ordinary earthling woman, except that the face is more delicate, and the figure is also graceful, with a slender waist that can be held with both hands. The most unique thing is her long pointed ears, which look very similar to the elf described in the Legends of the Earth. Moreover, she was carrying a pot of arrows on her back and holding a big bow in her hand. She almost had "I am an elf" written on her face. The more Jia Yan looked, the more surprised he became. Of course, he has walked through so many starry skies and seen so many races. Even races similar to the elves have been seen a few times. At this time, he was just stunned for a moment, but he quickly recovered. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1289. You want to challenge me, right? Jia Yan looked at the other party. The elf woman raised her head proudly and seemed to be very proud. But I refuse. Jia Yan shook his head and walked directly in front of the other party. For Jia Yan, it was already a speechless thing for a stellar class to be challenged by a group of weaklings. What was even more speechless was that these weaklings were still reluctant to let go, as if they were not afraid of death. You, stop here. I am a member of the elf tribe, one of the 3 major races on the white planet. Do you dare to refuse my invitation to fight? The elf woman frowned, pulled out an arrow from behind her, and then shot an arrow at Jia Yan's back. But just after she shot the arrow and missed it, her eyes suddenly burst into disbelief. Because in front of him, Jia Yan was like an afterimage, moving sideways quickly for a moment, avoiding the arrows she shot at a speed that no one else could detect. Isn't this too fast? Is it from the elf tribe? I hope you won't look for me again. My temper is not as good as you think. Jia Yan didn't even look back, and walked towards the so-called dormitory with the big bird-like creature. In fact, Jia Yan has already figured out the rough composition of this white star these days, but he has not taken direct action. There are several reasons. First of all, in this stellar battlefield, battleships and even larger spaceships are strategic resources. For ordinary forces, control is extremely strict. Beizongxing is no exception. Several major repair and shipbuilding yards are under strict control. It will be difficult for Jia Yan to use them. Another reason is that although Jia Yan's real body's injuries are recovering quickly, it has not yet reached the level of directly resisting another powerful star-level expert, let alone the pseudo-star level in this white star. The strong ones serve as helpers to the white star overlords. As for another deeper reason, it is actually a bit ridiculous to say it. That is, after Jia Yan felt about this 5th star university, he actually felt a little like going to university back then. There is nothing wrong with me, so why not relieve the regrets of the past? You must know that Jia Yan died in this university in his previous life, which has become a regret for Jia Yan, so now being able to experience a similar feeling on a distant planet is also a kind of remembrance for him. Of course, this last point is just incidental. If there is a chance, he can leave at any time. Jia Yan, you were so handsome just now. You must know that the woman is from the elf clan. Her family is very powerful. There are not many students in 5th star university who dare to disobey her. How dare you? The big black bird kept chirping next to Jia Yan. This guy already calls himself Jia Yan's best friend. He spends time with Jia Yan every day. People who don't know think he has such a good relationship with Jia Yan. Okay, My dormitory is here and yours is over there. How many times have I told you not to come to me every day? Do you understand? Arriving in front of a house lined with buildings, Jia Yan zoomed in to chase people away. Okay. The big bird shook his head helplessly. He could see that even though he was familiar with Jia Yan didn't pay much attention to him at all. After sending Big Bird away, Jia Yan entered his dormitory. When he entered the dormitory that day, there were two other dorm mates there, but after Jia Yan gave them a hard punch, the two creatures disappeared again. From what I understand, there are only 3 repair shops in this white planet that can repair battleships. Opening Ji now, Jia Yan looked at some information inside, and then locked in 3 places. The first one is Star 2. This is the only arsenal in the White Galaxy. It can repair any warship and even build simple warships independently. The second one is the White Star. I heard that there are several good research and development institutions there, and there must be a shipyard that can repair large warships. The third place is the Garrison Star on the border. There are at least 2 docks for emergency maintenance of warships. Jia Yan called up the information and pictures of the 3 major locations and was about to study them carefully when he heard a burst of kicking sounds coming from outside the dormitory door. Jia Yan tilted his head and looked at the door, but he didn't show any emotion. For him, the so-called university life now is almost like children playing house. Apart from anything else, all the places in the university are under his control at all times, so the appearance of these guys outside the door, for him, he already knew it. Bang! Finally, the door was completely kicked open. There were 5 creatures that rushed in, and they all seemed to be extremely tall and strong guys. Jia Yan, you actually provoked the eldest daughter of the elf race of our White Star. This is completely your own death. Get out of here now. I will give you a chance. After a fair fight with us, maybe this eldest daughter I'll spare you. A creature that looked like a leopard glared at Jia Yan and roared viciously. Jia Yan slowly turned off the smart brain screen in front of him, then turned his head and looked at the group of creatures entering his dormitory room. 5th Star University Terms and Conditions, Article 312, this college simulates the dormitory as the student's private territory. If the private territory is threatened by attack, the dormitory students have the right to kill or drive away the intruders. The indifferent gaze of Jia Yan's clone made all the intruders suddenly feel a chill in their bodies. You, Jia Yan, don't be proud. It doesn't matter if we invade your dormitory. If you are sensible, get out of the battle platform, otherwise. The leopard creature had just finished speaking. They, a group of creatures, suddenly felt Jia Yan in front of them, and their bodies suddenly moved. Asshole, you dare to do something in the dormitory. This is so arrogant. This Jia Yan is just looking for death. He actually dares to do it in the dormitory. The teachers will definitely not let him go. No matter, let's restrain him first. A group of alien creatures saw Jia Yan in front of them and attacked them without any hesitation, so they fought back with complete fury. But their counterattack was a joke in the face of Jia Yan's fighting consciousness that far exceeded that of ordinary creatures. Even now, Jia Yan just moved his hands at will and did not use any strength beyond ordinary earthlings, but he still beat them one by one. You have to fly out of the dormitory door. The leader of all evil must be beheaded. The few creatures that had flown out of the dormitory before had not fully recovered from their shock and anger, but they heard Jia Yan's calm voice in the dormitory room. Then they only saw another vigorous shadow flying out of the dormitory. Poof! When the shadow fell out, a group of creatures were shocked. Because this is clearly the body of the leopard creature. It is said that it is the body, because the body has been completely torn into 2 halves, and the head and body have been separated. Jia Yan actually killed someone directly. This, he actually dares to kill people. The remaining creatures were both frightened and angry. What shocked me was that Jia Yan was so powerful, and what made me angry was that he dared to kill people. Okay, you guys clean up for me and get out of here. Jia Yan walked to the dormitory door, looked at the creatures coldly, and then closed the door with a bang. He killed a new student without any guilt. This made a group of ordinary creatures feel chills in their hearts. They felt that they and others had provoked a being who should not be provoked. Let's go, let's go. This Jia Yan is too domineering, but it's impossible for him to have nothing to do. Torturing and killing classmates in the university is a serious crime. He is dead. Several creatures carried away the body of the leopard monster in a mess. Of course Jia Yan knew that things wouldn't be that simple, but he didn't have any fear. For a star, what is such a small scene? Even if there was a falling out, he would definitely not be the one who died. If something happened, he would not mind completely destroying the fifth university. Sure enough, when Jia Yan returned to the dormitory room, he seemed to be fine, and after studying the map lightly, a teacher came to the door of Jia Yan's dormitory. Jia Yan, right? Just let me go. When the teacher saw Jia Yan, his expression was slightly moved. Of course, it was not fear, but an expression of interest. Jia Yan is incompetent. In fact, he already knows where he is going. The two walked together. The teacher, who looked like an elephant and was more than 20 meters tall, kept casting surprised glances at Jia Yan but said nothing. He didn't speak just to show off the seemingly domineering student, but what he didn't expect was that the student didn't ask him anything, but just followed him calmly. This demeanor is really classy. It's a pity that he is just an ordinary student. Otherwise, he might be able to be properly cultivated. The two parties arrived at a large meeting hall of Fifth Star University. As soon as Jia Yan and the teacher entered the hall, they saw more than a dozen teachers and set their sights on Jia Yan. Jia Yan, do you know that you made a big mistake by killing your classmates in the college? As soon as Jia Yan entered the hall, a creature that seemed to be more than 100 meters in size came to Shiyuan. The strong man exuding high-level power fluctuations in the second level gave him a shock. You are simply the worst student since the founding of our Fifth Star University. What else do you have to say now? Jia Yan. Faced with the aggressive momentum and voice of the sub-level creature, Jia Yan was not moved at all. He even ignored the group of venerable level and sub-level creatures present, walked calmly to a row of tables and chairs in the hall, slowly found a chair and sat down. When the level creature saw that under his pressure, the creature named Jia Yan was still unmoved at all, and his whole momentum suddenly leaked, almost showing an expression of astonishment. A creature that is not even at the earth level dares to ignore his existence. You must know that he is a dignified high-level creature, a terrifying creature that is just one step away from becoming a half-star powerhouse. Okay, teachers, stop pretending. If you really want to arrest me, you won't make it so troublesome for me to meet you, right? If you have anything to do now, please tell me directly. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1290. Remember in 1 second to provide you with wonderful novels to read. A group of teachers at Fifth Star University would never have thought of this. The student who killed his classmates during the day actually showed no fear when he saw them. He even spoke in a tone as if he were their equal, extremely calm. Wrong. Rather than being equal, Jia Yan's eyes and tone of voice seemed to be slightly higher than theirs. This makes a group of teachers lose face. Jia Yan, what's your attitude? You killed your classmates and you still dare to be so unscrupulous. It seems that if this college doesn't kill you directly, will you think that we are very optimistic about you? That's right, what's much more powerful than your talent is, don't take yourself too seriously. Several teacher creatures almost jumped up in the hall. The huge momentum of the creatures completely suppressed Jia Yan. One of them even had murderous intent. The gleam in his eyes seemed to want to kill Jia Yan. But what made them helpless was that not only was Jia Yan not affected by this momentum, he even used his little thumb to prick his ears. Although many of them didn't know what this action was, they could tell that Jia Yan was completely uninhibited. Take their threat seriously. This Jia Yan is too crazy. He will definitely not be able to complete our explanation. Why don't we just kill him? I am really angry just looking at this guy. A sub-level creature finally couldn't bear it anymore and made such remarks to several teachers around him. No need, I'll do it. A teacher creature from the early stage of the second pass looked at Jia Yan with shining eyes. Jia Yan, if you want to atone for your sins regardless of your merits, then you can't refuse the next task. Do you understand? I understand, come on, I have something else to do. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, Jia Yan's words made him so angry that he almost spit out a mouthful of blood. This ordinary creature named Jia Yan is so irritating. After several levels, one of them almost vomited blood due to his words. This is also a terrifying talent, right? Resisting the thought of killing, the creature at the lower level of the second level continued to speak to Jia Yan. Anyway, the mission this time is that you have to fight for a certain adult in this galaxy and defeat a creature that comes to challenge you. Don't worry, his strength is about an ordinary level. Okay, you go back and get ready, and retreat. Bar. Several levels of creatures did not want to continue talking to Jia Yan at all. They were afraid that if Jia Yan said anything else, they would be so angry that they would kill the talent they had finally found. No matter what, just use him to deal with the mission first, and then find a reason to kill him. Humph, I think this student's strength is just that. Maybe he won't be able to come back at all. Yes, it doesn't matter if you die. This is the first time I expect a student from my college to die. Jia Yan listened to the thoughts of each senior teacher, but he didn't mind at all. Even what they asked Jia Yan to do, that is, the opponent he was going to fight next, Jia Yan had already heard it. Is it a challenger from another galaxy? I didn't expect that there would be a competition between geniuses in this stellar battlefield. But this has nothing to do with me. I will agree because this is the place where the challenger and I will fight. There was a strange light in his eyes. It actually happens to be the garrison star on the border. Thinking of this, Jia Yan smiled slightly. No matter what the process was, being able to visit the border garrison star was the answer he wanted. If this trip goes through, then he doesn't have to come back at all. He can just exploit the weakness of the garrison planet after discovering it, repair the Edisha and leave, so as not to have to fight with the strong man from the white planet. Beaten to death. The day of departure is in 2 days. It seems that this task is quite urgent. Jia Yan heard another piece of news. In Star 5 University, or even in Star 5 as a whole, there are almost no secrets that can be hidden from Jia Yan's ears. After all, his strength is that of a star, and to ordinary creatures, he is almost like a god. 2 days passed quickly. However, in the past 2 days, Jia Yan faintly heard an unusual secret. It turns out that this white star and the coming challenger are actually allies. Is this some secret agreement made through the communication between geniuses? The news that Jia Yan heard came from the Star Lord's mansion on star number 5, which is the residence of a semi-star powerhouse. However, since the semi-stellar level is still close to the star level after all, Jia Yan still took a vigilant approach in order to prevent the enemy from being alerted. The secrets he heard were not complete, which led him to wonder about the cooperation that the two major forces wanted to carry out. What? It's not too clear yet. But it doesn't matter. What they want to do has nothing to do with me, a new outsider. Of course, if it's something good. Jia Yan smiled. The time soon came to welcome the arrival of the spaceship. After dismissing the big black bird creature that wanted to follow, Jia Yan and a sub-level teacher creature boarded the 2-kilometer large welcoming spacecraft. This kind of spaceship is almost unimaginably powerful for ordinary creatures. Even for sub-level creatures, it is not easy to see. Okay, Jia Yan, I don't care what your attitude was before. Now in this spaceship, you can't go too far. Do you feel that there is a half-star strong man in this spaceship? If you provoke that, if a half-star powerhouse becomes angry, not even I can save you. The sub-level creature was afraid that Jia Yan would say something that would make even the sub-level experts angry like he did in college. As soon as he stepped onto the spacecraft, he hurriedly gave instructions to Jia Yan. Of course, he was not helping Jia Yan, but was afraid that what Jia Yan said would implicate him. Fortunately, the worries of this sub-level creature were completely unnecessary. Even when he led Jia Yan to meet the half-star powerhouse, Jia Yan still had a calm face, but his scared nonsense did not appear. Say it. This Jia Yan's attitude is too arrogant. Fortunately, Mr. Taigi did not blame him in any way. Otherwise, not only Jia Yan would be unlucky, but I would also be implicated. I will not accept such a mission next time. The second-level teacher was almost terrified in his own residence in the spaceship. But what he didn't know was that in the command cabin of the spacecraft on the other side, the half-star commander also had doubts about Jia Yan's attitude and even his identity. The way Jia Yan looks at me is completely different from the way an ordinary creature sees a half-star powerhouse. Have you investigated his origins? Sir, we have investigated and he is actually a minor. However, the latest news about him only started a month ago, and there is no information before that. According to our analysis, he may be a minor. An outsider. The deputy hesitated and expressed his judgment. I see, the answer is out, but in my opinion, this guy is not a spy. How could a spy make himself so noticeable? I guess he is a genius from some force. The force was destroyed. And there are so many geniuses wandering in the stars, no wonder he doesn't have any fear when he sees me. That half-star creature actually figured out the so-called answer by itself after receiving the information. But it doesn't matter. As long as such a genius has no second thoughts and can be used by me, especially this time, if he can help us white stars, what if we treat him as a real genius in this galaxy? Lord Overlord, but we welcome outside talents like this. Regarding all the analysis and words of Jia Yan, a group of creatures thought that they could hide Jia Yan, but they did not expect that all the words about Jia Yan were carefully heard by Jia Yan. Oh, since you don't doubt me, forget it, and let the game continue. Jia Yan completely regards everything now as a game. After all, for him, as a star, everything he faces at this time, whether it is a sub-level or a semi-star, is just an ant-like existence, as long as it does not involve for a star-level powerhouse or equivalent means. To him, everything is just something that can be erased in a joke. The voyage lasted for more than 10 days. On this day, a 2-kilometer large battleship came to a starry sky extremely far away from the White Star. This is the farthest distance of the White Star's garrison. In the farthest place, there is a star that is the size of the Earth, completely built into a perfect defensive fortress by the creatures of the White Galaxy. He is a defensive border star in the direction of the White Star, the garrison star. Welcome, Mr. Taiwei. When the 2-kilometer huge star arrived not far from this star, several battleships rose from the garrison star and negotiated with the giant battleship. Is this the ordinary level powerful genius who was ordered by the Lord? He is indeed the best among men. He will definitely increase my prestige as a white star. When a negotiator, a toad-like sub-level creature, saw Jia Yan's face, he went to Shiyuan and directly praised it. His words made the creatures in the surrounding giant battleships have strange expressions. Because they had been in a battleship with Jia Yan for more than 10 days, they all discovered that this seemingly ordinary creature actually had a bad face and a very bad temper. Even if their Mr. Taiwei, a powerful half-star man, invited him, There was no response several times. This flattery doesn't seem to be that good. Hee, this guy's strength is only average. Okay, let's go down. Anyway, I brought him here. Whether he can win or not depends on him. As expected, Tai Wei didn't feel proud because the other party praised Jia Yan. Under the confusion of the sub-level creature that greeted them, a group of spaceships landed on the garrison star. Is this the garrison star? It is indeed well defended. When Jia Yan stepped onto the ground of the garrison star, he immediately felt a sense of crisis coming over him, which surprised him greatly. Mobile phone users, please browse and read for a better reading experience. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1291. You must know that under normal circumstances, Jia Yan is unlikely to have any sense of crisis against a planet's defense system. But when he set foot on this garrison planet, he actually felt a sense of crisis, and the sense of crisis did not come from the strong, but from the defense of the planet itself. This surprised Jia Yan. I understand, it's not that the defense of this planet is anything special, but that the star fields I have experienced before are either too weak, or they are star fields that cultivate strong people. There is no emphasis on actual combat there, so the star field none of the defenses are truly powerful. But the real defense stars we see now, and they are built at the stellar level, will certainly be very powerful. Jia Yan quickly analyzed the real situation. Fortunately, the defense on this planet is not aimed at me. Instead, most of the response energy is put on the other side. Jia Yan sensed it again, and then felt that on this garrison star, there was a heavily defended place, and the creatures inside were strictly defended. Jia Yan soon knew that this was the enemy he was about to face. In this heavily defended place, there are more than 10 strong creatures, 2 of which are equal to the strength shown by Jia Yan's clone. In other words, they are also ordinary creatures. It seems that this time Jia Yan's clone is going to attack. Challenge your opponent. Are you the one of our personnel who came to challenge this time? Come over quickly. I'll give you 2 days of rest. It's best if you win. If you don't win, you die. A half-star level creature that looked like a general looked at Jia Yan after handing over to the half-star level creature who led Jia Yan over. Okay. Jia Yan agreed without being humble or overbearing, and then walked towards his own rest building with a starry sky level soldier creature. It's weird, the creature sent this time is not a descendant of my white star family. What kind of race is this? I have never seen it before. It looks like the elves, but it's different. The half-star general looked at Jia Yan leaving and said to himself with a slight frown. But he didn't mind too much, because for them, a battle that was not even at the Earth level was just a part of this mission. If the other party had not arranged for ordinary creatures to fight against them, ordinary creatures would not be able to fight against them. Not even a second glance. Under such circumstances, Jia Yan, an ordinary creature who had just arrived in the room where he was assigned without attracting much attention. This place is actually pretty good. Jia Yan looked at his room. It was neither too luxurious nor anything inappropriate. Obviously, the garrison star didn't pay much attention to his so-called player. Releasing the power of his brainwaves, Jia Yan calmly observed everything on the planet. Huh? There is actually a detection radar that responds to stars. I'd better be careful. As soon as Jia Yan detected the power of brainwaves, he felt an extremely sharp detection radar. Fortunately, the radar was not fully prepared for war, so Jia Yan felt the opponent's presence first, and quickly suppressed his brainwave power and hid it deeper. Under this kind of concealment, the range that Jia Yan can explore will be much smaller, but he can still have a rough look at the situation of the garrison star. This is the dock. It looks good and the size is suitable. It should be enough for the repair of the Etissa. Jia Yan saw 2 or 3 huge docks on the garrison planet. After taking a closer look, his eyes flashed with excitement, because the stock was enough to repair the Aditha. Next, he will think about how to put the Edissa into repair. After all, as a white planet's legion planet, although this place is not a dragon's pool and a tiger's den, it is almost the same. That's all, let me see if there is any chance first. In a place like this, there are not many restrictions on a strong star. Even if we use strong ones, the support of the white star will not be available so quickly. Come, hurry up, it's enough time for the Aditha to be repaired. Jia Yan was right in his mind. A constant breath-level powerhouse violated general principles and principles. This garrison star is powerful, and there are indeed many defenses on it. But for others, it is powerful, but for star-level powerhouses who violate the general biological laws, this is not the case at all. After all, the stellar class, at least in this stellar battlefield, is still an overlord class existence. There is almost no fortification here that can deal with the stellar class. But let's take a look at the situation first. I don't have to do it, and I don't want to use brute force. There is still a certain danger in exposing my existence in this stellar battlefield. Jia Yan thought that his real body was injured, his strength had not been fully recovered, and he had not yet understood the domain. He was still at a certain disadvantage when fighting against ordinary stellar powerhouses, so he did not want to make things worse. After roughly reviewing all the affairs on this planet, Jia Yan also understood the reason for this mission. It turns out that it is related to the robbery of a resource. In this stellar battlefield, the stellar class is the overlord everywhere, and these overlord places have certain resources. There are many ways to snatch resources. The most risky and domineering one is to fight directly between the stellar classes. Fighting. But under normal circumstances, the astral level also cherishes their lives, so they all like to use other methods, such as the current situation, using the geniuses in their own territory to compete, and then decide how to distribute resources and benefits. I didn't expect that with the strength of my clone, I would be chosen as a member of the competition between ordinary level creatures. I really don't know whether to laugh or cry. Jia Yan shook his head helplessly. Just when Jia Yan thought he had fully explored everything about this mission, he was slightly startled. Because his clone felt that there was a faint brainwave power outside the garrison star, which was exploring the inside of the garrison star in an extremely subtle way. Star level. He was suddenly startled. This star-level brainwave power fluctuation is just like the brainwave power released by Jia Yan's clone, trying not to arouse radar detection and vigilant exploration. If Jia Yan hadn't randomly explored the sky, he might have missed the opponent's brainwave power. Of course, when Jia Yan investigated, the other party seemed to have reacted to Jia Yan's brainwave power, but when he turned around and searched, he only felt that the brainwave power of this clone could only reach the sub-level level. It doesn't matter so much. From the perspective of the owner of this brainwave power, he may think that for a person with sub-level strength, even if his brainwave power is detected, the fluctuations hidden so deeply will definitely mean that he has an illusion. But he certainly never thought that this creature that released the power of brainwaves would actually be the clone of a stellar powerhouse. Haha. It seems that this competition is not that simple. Jia Yan withdrew his brainwave power. In order not to arouse the star's alertness, he stopped exploring the other party's existence. It can trigger the investigation of a star-level powerhouse. Obviously, there is some secret on this garrison planet. However, this creature is obviously not the star-level overlord of the White Star. So, will the overlord of the White Star show up too? Jia Yan tried his best to hide his brainwave power and pretended that nothing was wrong. Now that there is an item here that can trigger the existence of a star, Jia Yan is not so anxious. After all, even if he is anxious, he can't drive out the Edisha with a big blow when there is a star by his side. He plans to sit back and watch what happens. The next day, Jia Yan was called out of the room by a starry sky-level creature. Let us see your strength today. If it doesn't work, go back to where you came from. The starry sky-level creature brought Jia Yan to a high-level creature of the second level. Each of these creatures has fixed clothing, which looks just like the uniformly dressed army on the earth. However, because each creature has a different appearance, the clothes show countless styles, some of which make people laugh. This time, the high-level creature is obviously in the shape of a snake, but it actually wears a camouflage uniform. It feels inconsistent. Jia Yan smiled slightly when he saw the clothes of the snake creature in front of him. Jia Yan, right? We have roughly known about your strength, but that level of strength is not enough. I heard that you still have hidden strength. Show off all your strength. If you get my approval, tomorrow's you can only join the mission, otherwise we won't make things difficult for you, we just want you to go back to 5th Star University. That time, the level creature looked at Jia Yan's face and seemed to use the power of brain waves to suppress Jia Yan. It's a pity that Jia Yan is completely unmoved. It's like he had planned it before. Even if he hides his strength, if he pretends to be suppressed by the brainwave power of a mere sub-level creature, it's better not to do it at all. It would be too cowardly to pretend that this ordinary creature was suppressed as a star. But it was obvious that the other party had no intention of harming Jia Yan. He raised the brainwave power to the critical point that ordinary creatures can resist. Seeing that Jia Yan was still unmoved, he quickly put away the brainwave power. Very good, it seems that you are not in vain. The snake creature almost looked surprised. You must know that ordinary creatures do not have much resistance to the brainwave power of strong people. This is the real reason why ordinary creatures cannot fight against Earth-level creatures. However, the resistance shown by Jia Yan almost surprised the snake creature. He had also seen Jia Yan's information on the 5th star, but every time, Jia Yan easily defeated the opponents who challenged him. Such information to this snake-like creature, there was still no way to believe that there was anything unique about this former miner. As a result of this test, he was extremely satisfied. After several more tests, such as reaction ability, movement ability, etc., the snake creature became more and more satisfied with it. Jia Yan, right? You have my respect. Even if you are still an ordinary creature, I think you can definitely become a strong person comparable to me. Go back now. I hope you can perform well tomorrow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1292. From the perspective of the snake creature, Jia Yan, a mere ordinary creature, must be crying with gratitude when he is praised by a powerful person at the next level. But what disappointed him was that Jia Yan just nodded lightly, then turned around and left without saying anything. Are ordinary creatures these days so awesome? Or should I say, this Jia Yan is special? The snake chief was almost completely stunned. But when Jia Yan walked halfway, he suddenly turned around and looked at the snake-like creature, revealing a slightly strange color. By the way, sir, where is the opponent I have to deal with tomorrow? This. The snake-like creature hesitated for a moment. Originally, this was confidential information, but thinking that Jia Yan would meet his opponent tomorrow, he would not be able to hide it from him by then, so there was nothing to tell him now. They are neighbors from the west, called the Helong Galaxy. You must not underestimate your opponents, or you will die. Do you understand? Oh, I wonder what we are competing with them this time. Jia Yan shook his head again and asked casually. How can you ask this? The snake general's demeanor changed and he glared angrily at Jia Yan. Next, the snake-like creature looked calmly in one direction, and then gave Jia Yan a cold shout. You have to understand your identity. It's just an ordinary creature. If you want to involve such information, you are overestimating your capabilities. Now get off. Under his angry expression, Jia Yan turned around and left without even apologizing to the angry strong man. This Jia Yan is going too far. He is so disrespectful to a strong man. Ignoring the angry words of the snake creature behind his back, Jia Yan smiled after leaving the place where the Siguan general was. He looked at the direction where the snake-like creature had last looked, noted where it was, and was led back to his room by a soldier-like earth-level creature. It's over there, right? What is it? Let me see. In the middle of the night, the light from the white stars completely disappeared on the horizon. Under the last brilliance of the setting sun, a figure walked toward the place where the snake-like creature last looked, with hands behind his back. The defenses here are powerful, but most of them are for defense against the outside world. Creatures like me inside don't have much defense power. Even because the clones are relatively small, their radars don't scan it very much. The light in Jia Yan's eyes flashed, and he headed towards the direction where the snake-like creature was last looking. The road was almost smooth. Through such subtle details, we can understand that in this stellar battlefield, there are almost no small star-level powerhouses, because there are no defenses built to protect against small powerhouses, and maybe even clones like me. None of them have appeared, or in other words, no one has used them in actual combat. A lot of information can be seen from a small detail. Jia Yan analyzed a lot of similar information along the way. We're here, this should be it, right? As a clone of a star-level powerhouse, his clone came to an extremely well-defended place almost unimpeded with the help of his size. There is a huge building here, which emits astonishing detection fluctuations. Huh? At least 3.5 star-level experts are defending inside. This pair of white stars can be said to have extremely amazing defensive capabilities. Jia Yan was shocked to feel that there were actually 3.5 star powerhouses sitting inside this building, and he was immediately shocked. It seems that the things inside are extraordinary. And the star-level powerhouse from the outside world probably came for this purpose, right? 3.5 stars. Jia Yan's eyes flashed slightly, and then his body rippled like water ripples, and he instantly stepped into the subspace. There seems to be any different value? There should be no problem. Such a small fluctuation is probably caused by the ultra-small space ripples in the universe. When Jia Yan stepped into the subspace, in the exploration equipment room somewhere on the garrison star, a soldier creature noticed something strange here. However, since the fluctuations were too small and nothing special happened here, he just looked at the surveillance camera and then gave up the investigation. This soldier had no idea that the clone of a stellar powerhouse had already entered the subspace under the cover of this fluctuation, and even entered the building. As expected, subspace talents are quite popular in the starry sky here. This place with tight defense actually doesn't protect against subspace. Inside the building, beside a wall, the space was distorted, and the black-haired figure of Jia Yan's clone appeared faintly. As Jia Yan walked forward, Ju Wan could not see him at all when several guards passed by him. There is a semi-star powerhouse ahead. I guess there is something here. Jia Yan felt a wave of waves in front of the road, and without any hesitation, he pursued towards the place that radiated terrifying waves. There are many floors in this building, but the middle is completely empty. In an area the size of a city, there is a huge machine emitting fluctuations and roars. But Jia Yan felt that his target was not inside the machine, because although the machine looked important, it only contained some energy matter at most. I can already feel it. This thing seems to be a bit attractive to me. As Jia Yan approached the semi-stellar creature, he felt a strange feeling in his heart. He was very familiar with this feeling, because it was the desire his body would show whenever he encountered a substance that could be beneficial to his body. In the subspace, a huge mosquito figure suddenly moved, and his huge compound eyes and countless pupils flashed with wisps of light. At the star level, any substance that can improve strength will be extremely valuable. No matter what it is, I will decide it. Wisps of killing intent and excitement emerged in the giant Mosquito's eyes. For a star level, ordinary resources are no longer important, but when it comes to the heart to obtain star level help, it is different. Every star level can be said to have such resources. They all value it extremely, and even if they try their best, they will often grab it. I thought that after reaching the stellar level, it would be difficult to obtain things that improve the stellar level. Unexpectedly, I saw something when I first came to this stellar battlefield. Could it be that coming here is not only my bad luck, but should be said to be a blessing? While Jia Yan was thinking, the clone's footsteps had already arrived outside the room where the semi-star powerhouse was sitting. This is a room that is hundreds of meters in size, and the fluctuations that Jia Yandu longs for are constantly emanating from it. However, the half-star powerhouse also emitted extremely fluctuations. On the one hand, it covered the fluctuations of this thing, and on the other hand, it was around the police dice. There are a total of 3.5 stars in this building, and each of them guards a place like this. Although I don't know what this thing is yet, it is obvious to me that I cannot combine these three aspects of things in an instant. Take them all away. Jia Yan was about to step in, but suddenly paused. As a strong man, he doesn't have any embarrassing thoughts. Of course, he wants to catch everything that suits his promotion strength. But if he robs the first place and then the other two places, he will definitely be wary. Even if he has no fear of the half-star level, he can even use his true body to turn the entire planet into a flame of war. But don't forget, outside this planet, there is a stellar powerhouse who is eyeing you. Not to mention, the planet's defense power is not that simple. Although Jia Yan is confident that he can suppress the entire planet, he can still do it if the other party hides the remaining two matters before that. After all, although the stellar level is powerful, if you want to search the entire planet, it is somewhat beyond your capabilities. Thinking of this, Jia Yan took back the steps he took. Even if he is still certain, there are too many variables, and what makes him even more confused is that since an outside star level has come, will the white star level overlord and strong man not come? Forget it, let's talk about it next time. Maybe the white star overlord is hiding somewhere. If I are exposed first and to get things without telling me, or even risk my life, then it's just too much of a loss. Jia Yan looked regretfully at the door of the huge room, and then re-entered the second row. Hey, something really happened this time. But, I didn't say anything last time about filing a complaint this time. Doesn't that mean I didn't work well before? Forget it, it doesn't look like anything happened there anyway. Accident. In the detection room on the planet, Xiaobing, who had previously discovered Jia Yan's fluctuations, once again noticed the distortion of the subspace, but this time he still did not report it because in his opinion, this would definitely be an isolated natural phenomenon. And under such circumstances, Jia Yan's clone once again returned to his player room without incident. In that case, then I will fight for this white star tomorrow, and treat it as a reward for taking their energy in the future. Jia Yan didn't think any more and quickly entered a state of rest. The real body continues to recover, and time passes extremely quickly. When the light from the white star appeared on the horizon again on the second day, Jia Yan opened his eyes on time. Jia Yan, come out. A soldier's reminder just came from the door. Jia Yan walked out of the room indifferently. He, an ordinary creature still puts on the expression of a strong man. He is not even at the earth level. Why are you dragging him? As the daily servant responsible for Jia Yan, an ordinary creature, the soldier felt extremely unhappy when he saw that Jia Yan, a being who was not as powerful as him, always acted like a strong man and looked down on him, an earth-level creature. Follow me to the fighting arena. However, where the mission was, he didn't want to attack directly. Instead, he called Jia Yan casually and led the way. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1293. On the Garrison Star, there is a place where soldiers usually conduct combat drills. Today, this place has been requisitioned, and a group of soldiers have become spectators, coming here to watch the battle that is about to unfold. Jia Yan slowly entered the battle arena under the watchful eyes of 30 to 40,000 garrison soldiers. Is that the ordinary biological representative of our white star this time? He actually stands on two legs. It's unreasonable. He fell down in one hit. What do you mean? I also stand on two legs. Are you saying that I am also an unreasonable existence? When Jia Yan entered the martial arts arena, he immediately attracted a lot of attention. But that's it? Ordinary level creatures, no matter how powerful they are among ordinary creatures, will not cause discussion among soldiers at the lowest level. They still focused most of their attention on the creatures in the field that exceeded the Earth level. Are these the contestants? Jia Yan looked at the two groups of creatures on the martial arts field. On one side, there were more than a dozen creatures led by a sub-level leader. In addition to one sub-level creature, there were also two venerable level creatures, 7 of them. They are at the Earth level, and the remaining 2 are ordinary creatures that exude the aura of ordinary creatures just like their clones. But unlike Jia Yan, these 2 guys looked quite strong, but they kept trembling when faced with such a scene. This is another average level player, much better than those 2 losers. That time when Guan Level saw Jia Yan entering the arena under the leadership of a soldier, his eyes suddenly lit up. For him, the strongest player, it was very depressing to meet 2 companions who had no fighting courage in any case. Now that he saw Jia Yan, his eyes lit up in comparison. However, he did not expect that Jia Yan just looked at him, and then dared to ignore him. Instead, he came to the front of everyone and looked at the team on the opposite side. So arrogant. A flash of anger flashed through the sub-level creature, but now that he was on the battlefield, it was hard for him to burst out. The look he looked at Jia Yan was no longer friendly. It's a pity that Jia Yan doesn't take this strong man seriously at all, so he doesn't care about his hostility. The opposing team had almost the same number of people, and there were 3 ordinary level creatures in it. It looked like they were the creatures fighting Jia Yan's 3 ordinary creatures. Jia Yan glanced and found nothing wrong, then nodded and held his fists motionless. How did this guy come to be standing in front of a sub-level powerhouse? Near the battle platform, tens of thousands of soldiers looked at Jia Yan in astonishment. If it weren't for the strength that Jia Yan exuded now, and he was just an ordinary rank, they would have mistakenly thought that Jia Yan was the real one. Second level, and the next few strong men are not as strong as Jia Yan. I don't know that person exists. Will he find something wrong with me now? Jia Yan raised his head and looked at the sky above his head calmly. At least several thousand kilometers away, a vague figure did say a soft sigh at this time, but after careful inspection, he fell silent again. Maybe he felt something was wrong with Jia Yan's clone, or he didn't feel it at all. This time the battle between our White Galaxy and the Helong Galaxy, based on the Treaty of Friendship, has attracted the attention of the top management of both parties, and even the overlords of both parties. I hope that you will uphold the spirit of friendship and mutual assistance and play the game as you like. Okay. Now the battle begins. A semi-star level being who looked like a big shot came to the battlefield, announced the start of the battle, and then left the battlefield. It seems that the tradition of concise speech is common throughout the universe. Now for the first battle, both sides, please come on stage. A sub-level creature acting as the host came to the battle stage and announced the start of the first battle. At the same time as he announced, an ordinary creature came onto the battlefield tremblingly. Fortunately, his opponent was the same ordinary level creature. Even though he looked better than him at this time, he was not much better. The battle between the two sides made a group of soldiers feel sleepy. After all, they were weak and both sides had stage fright, so there was no chance of a wonderful game. But while the two sides were fighting, Jia Yan watched with gusto. For him, it was a long time ago to see ordinary creatures fighting. Although such battles did not mean anything to him, they could still reminisce about the past. I really miss the days when I was just a little mosquito. Now, even if I'm flying in the universe, I don't have the excitement and life and death battle that I had back then. Jia Yan watched the battle between the two ordinary creatures and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Indeed, for Jia Yan now, he has completely lost the feeling he had back then, especially the killing of life and death. For him, he has almost lost the passion he had back then. It's not that he has no life and death crisis. Jia Yan also knows that his strength is not strong enough to ignore any crisis. This is a mental problem, especially after experiencing so many battles. For Jia Yan, his strength has almost reached its peak and he has too much combat experience. Every battle is a crisis. So that the feeling of crisis is completely diluted. It still feels like fighting with ordinary creatures. Unfortunately, I may never be able to experience that feeling again for the rest of my life. Jia Yan had a complicated look in his eyes. Jia Yan watched the battle between the two ordinary creatures with great relish, and then he sighed regretfully that the ordinary creature on his side was defeated miserably under the intense attack of the opponent. Okay, thank you two players for bringing us a wonderful game. Now let's start the second game. The second level referee creature looked very unhappy about the White Star's defeat, but although this feeling was written on his face, he did not show it. The next person to play is another ordinary level combat creature. Although this creature looked very nervous, he was over 2 meters tall and extremely strong. During the battle, even if he was covered in blood, he was not seriously injured. Although the combat expert on the other side seemed to have a lot of combat experience, the difference in physique put him at a complete disadvantage. Then after one kick failed to work, he was directly knocked down by the tall creature with one blow. This time, we White Stars win. The referee creature came up to the battle stage and announced the result of the battle between the two sides. Although such a victory was not so good looking, at least his side won, so he smiled a little more. Here are the foreign players our White Star has invited this time, that is, Jia Yan from the 5th Satellite University. I heard that this player has never lost a single challenge in the freshman stage of college. I hope he can give us a wonderful game. After the sub-level creature announced the names of both sides of the battle, Jia Yan walked towards the center of the battle stage with an expressionless face. The player on the other side also strode to the center of the stage. Huh? He's actually an existence that has almost reached the Earth level. This person from the River Dragon Star has done some tricks. This battle is probably going to be difficult. The second level host felt something bad instantly when he saw the contestant coming out of the Helong Galaxy. Jia Yan also saw his opponent, and he was also slightly shocked. It was not because of the opponent's strength, but because Jia Yan saw that this creature was actually a creature whose whole body was made of metal. It was 3 meters tall and covered in metallic luster. It walks on 4 legs and its outer skin looks extremely hard. Creatures from the metal star. Jia Yan looked at the other person's appearance, and then after chewing on the origin of the creature just introduced by the host, he was very surprised. There was no such creature at all in the Orion Arm or the Genius battlefield. It was the first time for him to see a creature whose whole body was made of metal. Whether metal can develop on its own and then become a star race is a question that Jia Yan has thought about for a long time. Jia Yan had never seen a similar race before, so he thought it was impossible for such a race to appear in the starry sky, but this metal creature broke his illusion. It seems that there are still many places in the universe that I don't understand. Even in every area of the starry sky, some subtle differences can create different species. For example, this metallic life, other creatures do not feel any surprise. That means that this kind of creature is not uncommon in this starry sky, but it has not been seen in Orion Arm and Genius battlefield, which shows that subtle differences lead to differences between species. While Jia Yan was sizing up his opponent, the huge metal-like creature felt that his whole body was completely unbearable after being sized up by Jia Yan for a while. Humph, look for the book. You didn't make any defensive moves? Are you looking down on me? Watch me punch you to death. The metal creature instantly swept up a burst of strong wind. It was indeed a creature that had almost reached the earth level. The sudden attack and the unique hardness of metal made the air resound with a heavy buzz. This attack technique is also good. It seems that the physical foundation of this creature is higher than that of ordinary creatures. Jia Yan saw the metal creature's attack and immediately nodded. He had his hands behind his back and did not move at all under the opponent's attack, which made every creature around him stunned. What's that Jia Yan's name? He looks so awesome. I thought he was so powerful just now, but now he can't dodge someone else's blow. If you're still pretending, you'll be shot away with your hands behind your back. I can't stand this kind of guy the most. The surrounding creatures, whether they were soldiers from the White Star or players from the River Dragon Star, saw Jia Yan looking like he wanted to be beaten, and now they all hoped that he would be defeated.